Hello and welcome back to another video. It has been another month, so that means another batch of photos for you lot to see. There are quite a few photos this month, and this video is going to be quite long because the deadline for my FMP was coming up and I had to rush around to get everything done as quickly as possible. And the first photos that I got in April were for my tattoo project. I met up with Megan, who has modelled for me years ago, and when I came up with the idea for my tattoo or piercing project, she was one of the first people that I thought of because she is just covered in piercings. She also has quite a few tattoos as well. Anyway, I brought the GFX and the Mitakon with me like I've done with every other tattoo shoot. So I started getting some photos, trying out different poses and different compositions. Although Megan does have quite a few tattoos, I was fully prioritising getting photos of all her piercings. And I think my favourite photos from this shoot were the first ones that I took, particularly the first, third and fourth. These three have pretty much everything that I wanted to capture for this project, and I'm really happy with how this shoot turned out. The second set of photos that I got this month were with the RB67. Sadly, this was the last time that I ever used the camera since it broke while taking these photos. Luckily, I was able to send it back to the person that I bought it from and get a full refund. Anyway, the photos that I got were these ones here. They're nothing special, they were just some photos of a cat when me and Jen went for a walk. It's really sad to see the RB go, as I was enjoying it quite a bit when I was using the camera, and it's just a gamble whenever you're using a 40-year-old camera, so I can't say I'm surprised. The next bunch of photos that I got in April were of my tattoo artist Kat. She agreed to be in my tattoo project, and I started by getting some still life photos around her studio. These photos are okay, they're nothing special, but I thought it would be quite nice to get something other than just fully portraits for this project. I then got a photo that I'm really happy with. A couple of Kat's clients came in and one of them had a neck tattoo. I explained my project and asked if I get his portrait, and he seemed really up for it. So I took a couple of photos, but the light really wasn't on my side, but I ended up getting this one here, which I'm really happy with. I'm super happy with this photo and it would definitely make an appearance in my project. After getting that photo, I got some portraits of Kat tattooing one of her clients, and then also some portraits of Kat herself. I first got some portraits on the GFX, and then after that I got my 4x5 out and took some portraits of her on that. However, I much prefer the GFX photos. I think they've just turned out way better, and I think Kat was quite intimidated by the 4x5 since it is quite intimidating to get your photo taken with a camera like such as that. My fourth shoot of the month was for my 4x5 yearbook project for university. Last time I spoke about this project, I mentioned that I had only around a quarter of the photos that I actually need. Luckily, when I told everyone that I had a studio booked, basically everyone said that they was available to come by, and I was completely overwhelmed by the amount of people that actually showed up. The first to arrive for the studio shoot was James. I took two photos like I've been doing with everyone else, one half body shot and then one headshot. I get two photos of each person just in case one of them goes wrong or one of them is significantly better than the other. Anyway, I'm happy with how James's photos turned out, and the next person to arrive for the shoot was Eden. One of the first photos that I took on my 4x5 was of Eden, however she looked really moody in that photo because I told her she had to stay completely still. She absolutely hated the photo, so she made sure this time that she was smiling. And that was completely fine by me since I've gotten a lot faster using this 4x5. Once again, I took two photos and I really like how these ones turned out. Eden then left, and shortly after, Chea arrived. Like the others, Chea sat down in the chair, I composed the shot and took the photos. And I really like how these ones turned out as well, especially the close-up one. I think it's just got a really good yearbook feel to it. The next person to arrive after Chea was Ricardo. Ricardo didn't have much time, so I had to be really quick with these photos. Luckily, the photos turned out really good and I'm very happy with them. Although there are some marks on the film and I don't really know why that's there, as it's only on these photos and no others from the day. After Ricardo left, Matt and Izzy turned up. I first took some photos of Izzy, but I ended up exposing 3 sheets of film without the flashes going off because for some reason they just didn't work. Anyway, when the flashes did work, I ended up getting these photos of Izzy. And I absolutely love the half body shot, it just captures Izzy's personality so well. And since I was having problems with the flash when I was taking Izzy's portraits, Matt ended up going out, and when he came back he was with Alice. Matt sat down in the chair and I got these two photos. Luckily the flashes did work this time and I'm quite happy with how these turned out. However, the close-up is a tiny bit out of focus, but it's not the end of the world. Matt also doesn't want the half body shot going in the yearbook, which is such a shame because it's such a good photo. Once Matt was done, I then got some portraits of Alice. I had previously captured some portraits of Alice for this yearbook on my 4x5 before, but the background was white in those photos, and in all the other photos I've used a black background as I think it just looks so much better. So I got her portraits again, and here they are. I definitely prefer the photos from before. I wish I used a black background then, but these ones are still good. Alice and Matt left, and then a few minutes later, Caroline and her boyfriend arrived. I first got some portraits of Caroline, which turned out quite well. I do much prefer how the close-up one looks. And after I got Caroline's portrait, I asked if her and her boyfriend wanted a photo together. I first got their portraits together, and then I asked Caroline's partner if he wanted one by himself. I can't for the life of me remember his name, as this was the only time that I've met him, so I'm really sorry about that. Once Caroline left, it was quite a while before anyone else turned up. It was getting later in the day at this point, and I knew that there wasn't going to be many more people showing up. And not long before I was about to pack up everything, Izzy and her son Monty arrived. Izzy wanted Monty to be in the photo, and I really liked the idea. So Izzy got on the chair, and then we got a stool for Monty. I posed them, set everything up, and then took the photos. And I absolutely love how these ones turned out, especially the half body one. And once they left, I was about to pack everything up, but then I decided to try and find any lecturers that were about so I could get their portraits. But as it was gone 5 PM at this point, most of them had gone home. But one of our lecturers was still there, and that was Lottie. So as she was on her way out, I dragged her to the studio to get her portrait taken. Lottie used to shoot a lot of large format stuff. She's an absolutely incredible photographer, and she's definitely made a name for herself. And since she knew how the process worked, she tried to stay as still as possible. But because of this, she ended up looking quite moody in the photos, which is quite funny because she's usually quite cheerful. Anyway, that was the end of that shoot, but we still have more to go. My next shoot was for my tattoo project, and it was with Sid. Me and Sid have been trying to plan a shoot since first year, but it had never come to fruition. I've been wanting to do a shoot with Sid for quite a while because back in college I was doing some research for a project that I was doing, which was mainly inspired by Rosie Matheson. And while I was doing some research about medium format portraits, I ended up stumbling across Barney Arthur. And I was quickly amazed by his portraits and how good they looked. And one of those portraits, if I can find it, is this one here. It was my favourite out of the bunch that I had got for my research, and it came as a massive shock to me that when I was walking around uni in first year, I saw the person that was in my research for my FMP at college. And that person was Sid. It's crazy how small the world is sometimes. Anyway, after a couple years of us trying to plan a shoot together, we both had free time at the same time. So we met up at uni and went around the gardens area on campus. The light was not on our side as it was changing every 2 seconds, but despite all the odds, I ended up getting some photos that I'm quite happy with. As Sid has modelled many times before and is a photographer himself, he knew exactly what to do, and this shoot was just a breeze. The shoot was only meant to be around an hour long as I had more stuff to do, but we ended up just chatting for so long that it ended up going past 2 hours. And just before the end of the shoot, I wanted to use my 4x5 for some photos. So I set up the camera, Sid got in position, and I took these 2 photos. I'm really happy with how these turned out, and I especially love the close-up. It's probably my favourite photo from that day, and it's one of my favourite photos that I've taken on 4x5. Just a couple days after that shoot, I ended up getting some more yearbook photos as there were only 4 or 5 people left to get. So once again, I booked a studio and got some portraits. This time it was with Marina, Caitlin, Anya and Jack. Caitlin and Anya have both appeared on the channel before, as I have done a whole video with Anya where I took some portraits on 4x5 and the GFX and everything. I'll link it here, it's quite a good video. And Caitlin has been in 2 learning large format videos that I released ages ago. This video is already super long, so I'll be as quick as possible with these. I first got Marina's portraits, which turned out good. Then after that I got Caitlin's because she wanted hers redone again, and then I got Anya's after that, which also turned out good. I then tried to take Jack's portraits, but everything ended up going wrong. I had to expose multiple sheets of film just to get the photos because everything was just going wrong, and then when I finally got the photos, the developing machine ended up just eating them and not splitting them back out, so I had to get a technician to go in, like put their hands in the machine and get them for me, and they were just completely unusable and destroyed. And after that disaster of a shoot, I had one more tattoo shoot to do this month, which was with Lola. She's got quite a few tattoos and she's had a bunch of previous modelling experience, so she was perfect for this project. We shot at uni and I brought along my GFX, the Mitakon, and also my new Mamiya 45mm f2.8. I started with a few different portraits on the Mitakon as you really can't go wrong with that lens. However, just like the shoot with Sid, the lighting was not on our side. It kept changing every 2 seconds, but I ended up getting some decent images. I then switched over to the 45mm to get the last few shots of the shoot, and while it is a really nice lens, I doubt I will use it for like these type of portraits again. The 2.8 aperture just isn't wide enough for the style of portraits I like, but I'll definitely be using it for more environmental stuff. I was done with that shoot quite quickly, and then I met up with Caleb as he had booked out a studio to do some of his work, and I ended up just like leaving a bunch of stuff with him as I brought along my whole 4x5 kit. He was creating some tutorials about photography as he wants to get into teaching after uni's done. The video that he made included a bunch of unique lenses, so while he was just packing some stuff away, I ended up just testing out the lenses here and there. I ended up using a fisheye lens which was like 8mm or something crazy like that, and then after that I used the infamous 85mm f1.2 from Canon, and to be honest, I don't think it's a lens for me. Although I like super shallow depth of field and all that, I thought it was just quite boring because there's just no character whatsoever. It's just really clinically sharp. And while that can be good for like professional stuff, I like my images to have a bit of character to them. It explains why I love the Mitakon. Once we had everything packed away, I then got some photos of Caleb on the GFX as he said he wanted a new profile picture. I got some shots on the Mitakon and then a few on the 45mm. They turned out pretty decent, but I think my favourite was actually on the 45mm. It's this one here and I really like it. Anyway, Caleb then went home and I went to the studio to get my final photos of the month. I had to redo my portraits of Jack, and then I got some portraits of James, a different James this time. We've got 2 Jameses on a course, we've got 2 Izzies, it's just a mess. We didn't take long getting those portraits, it really was just like sit down, get your portrait done and then leave. And even though it was a short shoot and I made sure to be quick, I'm really happy with how these turned out. And that was my last shoot, but we're not fully at the end yet. Throughout this month, I have been taking some photos on my new X-T4, but they weren't really like any specific shoots, I've just been shooting here and there, so I thought it would be best to include them at the end of the video. I also think I missed out my test shoots that I done on the 45mm f2.8, so I'll also include those after the X-T4 photos. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. If you have made it this far in the video, then thank you so much as this was a ridiculously long video. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.